I think anybody that kind of picks up a newspaper at the moment can kind of recognise thematic concerns and issues and situations and events that is happening in the play. I mean, from the protests in Hong Kong to racism that happened on the bus to the Jewish school. You know, there are so many different facets, but I think what makes the play valuable as well is that on a personable level, on a relational level, there's some very recognisable elements in there. You know, like when, for instance, with Jessica, when she gets swept up in love, and then there's the practical kind of elements of a relationship. Living together is a nightmare. Got to share the toast.
I think prejudice is the biggest relator, is that the Merchant of Venice is what is happening in Australia right now. I mean, boat people, that's what the Jews were in Venice. That's all they were. They weren't allowed to work when they arrived there. Boat people aren't allowed to work when they arrive here. They have restrictions on where they can live, what they can do, what they can wear, and we apply that same thing, and it's that we fear what we don't understand. Instead of trying to understand it, we fear it because it's easier to control fear, and you can redirect fear. So from a political power point of view, you can use fear to control an entire nation. It's so easy.
There's something that surprised me about the play is there's a lot about gambling. I think in every scene somebody takes a gamble or mentions, should we put a wager on something, which I think is the key to this. As much as it seems to be a romantic comedy, there's a lot about actually money running things, and that's very important today, particularly after the GFC.
Also the whole thing about mercy and the giving of mercy in that final trial scene is something that happens every day, every courtroom. Yeah, no one really wants to give mercy anymore. Everyone wants justice, and what people's perception of what justice is very different. So I think that's a very strong theme that people can relate to.
I think all Shakespeare is relevant now, actually, but and they're timeless stories. I mean, what personally I have to deal with in the show, in The Merchant of Venice as Portia, is discrimination about just being a woman. I'm forced to marry a certain person. Now, whilst that doesn't happen today, there is still lots of pressures that are put on women in our society, and women of high power and that kind of thing. Looking at Julia Gillard and her biography that's just come out, gave us lots of insight into the stress of women in a powerful position. So it's looking at that, and the fact that Portia then has to dress up as a man in order to be able to be taken seriously in the court.